All right, guys, welcome to Powcast Sports podcast, and our episode today is special. I actually had the opportunity to watch this boxer during his fight in the Middle East against our very own boxing prospect. Let me just show you a photo. So, Filipino boxing fans, we're going to be interviewing someone who fought a Filipino prospect, Weljon Mindoro. Although he didn't win this fight, I got interested because he earned my respect. I was watching the fight. Of course, Mindoro won, so congratulations to him. I should be interviewing him, but instead of interviewing the other guy, I'm sure you guys are gonna be interested because Filipinos like guys that are humble, and that has good sportsmanship. So today, I also watched his recent post about him being on a podcast that's a 2 hours podcast, and I was kind of I was kind of careful about the question I'm gonna answer. So today I might have some question that's not on the list of questions that I'm gonna ask. So today, I'm happy to introduce to you a champion. I'm not sure if he's still holding the IBF Pan Pacific Middleweight Champion, but let me introduce you to Joel Camilleri. But first, let me just do a quick intro. Powcast Sports. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Presented by Arena Plus, Astigsa Sports. All right, here we are with Joel Camilleri. Am I pronouncing it correctly, the last name?
You're doing it better than most. Yeah, it's Joel Camilleri, and the nickname's Kamakeo, so Joel Kamakeo Camilleri.
Kamakeo. It sounded like Dragon Ball Kame Kame. I don't know. First, thank you very much for accepting my invitation for an interview. And I want to just give a special shout out right away to Peter Maniatis. Thank you. He's my friend. We've been in contact because he has a lot of Filipino connections. So thank you very much, Joel.
Yeah, no, he's always going to the Philippines. You know, his fiance is Filipino, and I've always asked him to take me to the Philippines. So next time he goes there, he's not going without me. You know.
Oh, that is why. Okay, he's fiance Filipina. Okay. Actually, from my experience, and I'm really happy that Australian boxers has never turned down. Every time I should do more of this, but they have never turned down a request so far. So thank you very much. Do you receive this kind of this a regular practice for boxers? Do you receive a lot of invitation from media or bloggers?
I actually did a podcast 2 nights ago. Went for a very long time as well. There's not too many podcast channels in Australia, and not too many willing Australian fighters to do podcasts, to be honest with you, because there's not too many. Australian boxing isn't a very big sport in Australia. You know, boxing's not
Yeah.
huge.
Okay. I'm just curious to ask you right off the bat, what's the number one sport in Australia?
Australian football, it's called
Football.
AFL. Australian
Is it the
Football League.
rugby?
No, it's
It's
our own
different.
sport. Like it's they have a ball, they run around, they bounce it, they kick it through these posts for points. After this podcast, you have to go research AFL.
AFL. So it's different from rugby and it's not like the American football.
Now, so where I'm from now in Sydney, I moved here 1 year ago. It's NRL, National Rugby League, and that's the rugby where they run the touchdowns and sorry, tries, not touchdown, tries. But in Melbourne, where I'm from, where I was born, we follow AFL. And AFL, like if you go to a rival game, a rival match, there'll be about 100,000 people in attendance.
Wow, that's a lot.
90, about 90, but in a grand final, about 110,000.
Wow, okay. That is the biggest sport. So curious here, actually in the Philippines, boxing is not number one as well. Do you know what's number one?
Oh, not basketball.
Yes. We're not
Okay,
that
okay.
tall, but we love basketball. I don't know why, but it's the American influence. Anyway, we're not we're not here to talk about any other sports. We're here to talk about boxing. And Joel, I want to ask you, and forgive me for having the focus on our Filipino boxer, but because that's the reason why I get to know you. Yeah, your fight with Weljon Mindoro. That fight went trending in the Philippines because Mindoro is a rare type of boxer in the Philippines, and we saw the fight, and of course we were happy with the Filipino boxers. You were stopped.
Yeah.
And although, correct me if I'm wrong, that didn't officially go to your record, though.
No, it's on the IBA. So IBA is not a recognized, not a recognized fight. It's a another organization, and that's why I took the fight at the higher weight. It's a bit more of a amateur style kind of fight.
Although you lost, it's not really, it's bittersweet because it's not really on your record.
Yeah,
Is that right?
exactly. That's yeah. Well, I wouldn't have taken the fight if it wasn't for that. But I'm sure we'll go through a few more questions. But yeah, I actually chose to fight Weljon Mindoro. I was the matchmaker.
You were. Okay, that's curious to know.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were very vocal. Not a lot of people or boxer are vocal about their defeats, but you were posting a lot of your feedback about your defeat against Weljon Mindoro. Describe to me the fight with Weljon and the aftermath of the fight, because that's your first stoppage, right?
Yeah, I've never been dropped in my life, never been counted in my life. Uh, I fought some great fighters, including Tszyu, who obviously was a former world champion. I manage his gym right now in Sydney. That's why I moved here. Um, it was a, as I thought, well done, very strong, can take a very big punch, and my game plan was working to a T. It was first round boxing and moving, making him miss. Second round, very similar. I felt his power. I didn't want to engage with him, and the end of the third round, I caught him with a punch to the back of the ear here, and he fell on me, and I knew he was hurt. And my trainer told me, "Go on him," and that was to my detriment. Like it was like I've jumped in, I threw a right hand, and he's missed me, and he hit me with a forearm, and I swung back, didn't show it, but when I sat down in the third round, my trainer said, "Hey, you hurt?" And I said, "Yeah, man, I'm hurt." Like so. His punching power was second to none. He's very strong, and he's a great fighter.
All right. So, you from that instance, of course, since this is IBA, there's really no reason for you to really risk it. But you went through the fight.
Yeah, so the fourth round come out. I was trying to regain my feet. Tried boxing. I thought I would sit with him on the ropes instead of going around all the time. Rest my legs a
Mm-hmm.
bit, and I was landing some punches. And he landed a punch here, and I was still hurt from the forearm. And my legs kind of went a bit, and I started covering up, and they started hitting me. He started hitting me some big punches, and the ref come in, and I thought, oh, he stopped the fight, but it's the amateur rule, so they give you a standing 8 count.
That's correct.
I was very confused, like what's happening. Um, my legs are a bit gone. There was another count. If you watch it, he misses me, and I fall down and grab his legs. It didn't actually connect, and I got another 8 count. After that, I thought, you know what, like he's got a very good chance to probably knock me out right now. I'm going to go on the ropes, cover, keep moving, moving. He's got a very good uppercut. His uppercut's very good. I was slipping, slipping, slipping. He landed uppercut. I've gone to the right. Next thing I know it, the referee's jumped in and no more.
Okay.
And I think in boxing, if you're not punching back, and somebody's punching you and you've been down and been countered, the ref will jump in and stop the fight, especially an amateur referee who hasn't judged a professional fight.
Yeah, that's for safety, especially if you're not returning the favor.
Yeah, yeah,
So they're gonna stop the fight for a while, ask you if you can still fight. I've seen that in some pro fights here in the Philippines, actually, even up in a pro fight. In Japan, I see that a lot as well, especially when
yeah,
Filipinos are fighting Japanese. If they see you not returning the favor, they're gonna try and count you down.
yeah. Of course. I think at the point of the stoppage, it wasn't a bad stoppage. Like my legs definitely were not all there, but why I'm not too disappointed in it because it could have been worse. I could have continued, and I'm very tough. As I said, I've never been dropped in my life. Very tough, and it would take somebody to really knock me out cold for me to stop. So for me, it's IBA. It doesn't affect my ranking. It doesn't affect my titles. So I go on to live another day.
That's yeah. Well, that seems like the right decision for that.
Yeah.
But you already mentioned a while ago, and you're probably gonna get quoted for this. Um, so is Weljon Mindoro? You said second to none. Is he a harder puncher than Tszyu, or how do you compare their power?
Uh, Tim is a much more accurate puncher. He hits the spot every time he aims and he hits the same spot. And the accumulation of punches, especially when you're tired, he will find that spot and he will hurt you when you're tired, your body's not functioning. He'll find the shot. Whereas Weljon Mindoro's got that power like a baseball bat. When it hits you, like the first two punches he threw was like a hook straight hit my shoulder. As soon as I felt the punch on my shoulder, I was like, okay, I have to move.
Okay,
So it's a real raw power.
okay. Going back to that fight, I know we mentioned it's IBA. Did you train differently? Did you train like it's a pro fight, or is there something different in the approach coming into this fight?
No, I trained exactly the same. Very great, a great training camp. I was feeling good. Training camp was great. Obviously, it was a weight division a bit higher,
Higher.
which I'm a pretty small middleweight. What I did learn from that is I wouldn't go to 75 again. If I fought IBA again, I would go to the 71 kilograms. But I trained the same. I was ready.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's 175, and you're fighting in 160.
Yeah, no, it's 75 kilograms. So I think it's 170 pounds, maybe.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I forgot the weight because I couldn't see there's no list where I can see the IBA details. But
I'm
what did you
pretty
learn
sure
from that fight aside from not fighting in the higher division?
what I learned was when something's working, don't change it. Like if the movement's working, especially with a puncher like that, don't sit and trade. No matter how strong you think you are, you don't sit with a puncher and try to trade punches with a puncher like that. So I also learned that I'm not invincible. I I thought no matter who I fought, no matter who punched me, I would not be hurt. So I learned a lot about that. I learned that my defense is good, but sometimes people will land punches and they can hurt you.
Did you ever consider because yeah, you never been stopped, you got some losses, you went through the decision, but could this be because of age now?
No, not really. I took the punches very well. Even the clean punches to the chin, um, all of the punches, I was taking them very well. I just think the weight because John was 79 kilograms the night before. I was 78 on the day of the fight in the ring. I do believe he would have been. He's big boy, man. Like he's. When I stand next to him, I look like a middleweight. He looks like a light heavyweight. So one thing I learned was if I'm going to step up in weight at all, don't choose somebody who's got 100% knockout ratio.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure. I mean, that is the one of the things that's the highlight of Weljon Mindoro. He has really that power. You're always a difference maker in a fight. Like even if you're not as good as a boxer, if you get hit with one solid punch, that could
Man,
change the fight, right?
I don't know about you Filipinos, man, what you guys eat, but man, like even Manny Pacquiao, his calves are like huge. John Mindoro's one calf was as big as my head. And
Ah,
as soon as I saw his legs, I knew he punched hard. And then when we went to the media training session, he just leaped one hand, just leaped over the rope, same as in the fight as well. And I was like, this guy's very explosive, and that's where the power comes from, his legs.
yeah, yeah. I remember. I spoke to. I don't remember his name. He was an Australian promoter manager. He was talking to me about getting Filipino as an activity fight with bad records. He was doing that, but every time the record's so bad and he's getting an upset. So that's why he said no longer Filipino for an activity fight because even if the record is bad, we get an upset because they have power.
They're strong. I fought three Filipinos now, I think. Maybe more. I my last Filipino fight before Weljon Mindoro was a guy named Arnel Tinampe. And
Yes.
Arnel, man, he's got the hardest head in the world. and he can punch as well. So these Filipinos, they're just very strong people. You don't choose a Filipino for a keep busy fight. I chose Arnal Tinampe because everyone said don't go next to him. He's got a record of 25-25, but he's dangerous. And in my head, I'm like, if I can't get past the guy who they say he's dangerous, but he's not at that level, then I'm not meant to be here. So that's why I chose him
Yeah,
for.
and that's the reason why you also fought Mindoro. You really
I
like the challenges.
I
Mm,
I got a phone call, a message saying, like, would you like to fight in the IBA? It's the IBA Asia title, and you got to find an opponent. So I went searching. I've seen Weljon Mindoro through the rankings before on BoxRec. I study BoxRec. I've promoted 2 shows myself. I've match made
mm,
shows. So firstly, I went for Japan. They wanted the Japanese fighter. So I hit up a few fighters. Kazuto Takasako, knockout artist as well. Takeshi Inoue, very strong dude. He fought against Weljon Mindoro to a draw. Um,
yes.
but he's told me he retired. So I go, you know what? Like, let's try reach out to Weljon Mindoro. So I spoke to Peter Maniatis and he organized it. And why I chose Weljon is because he's a knockout artist. This fight was not affecting my record. Uh, it wasn't going to affect my titles. I wanted to test myself against the biggest puncher I could find. I could have chose
Yeah.
anybody. I could have
Yeah.
chosen
Yes.
any high level Asian fighter, but I saw him as the biggest threat in the division. So I said, you know what? He's my man.
Okay. Speaking of that, let's just say, are you open to fighting Weljon Mindoro, and in what weight in a real pro fight that will affect your record?
Uh, I would fight about 72.5 kilograms. Weljon's a great guy, and I'm going to visit him in a few weeks to train in his training camp, and just sparring with him. Uh, it's not about Weljon, it's about ranking. And if Weljon happened to have a top 15 rating in WBA, IBF, or WBO, then I would be open to fighting him in one of those fights. But for me to choose Weljon Mindoro when he has no rating, it's a very stupid match to make. Like there's no benefit in fighting him right now with no rating.
All right, that's the reason why you're smart. And you're a
Yes,
promoter.
yes,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay. But the reason, by the way, one of the things that's why I said that Weljan is rare. Did you know that in the Philippines, I think Weljan and one other guy, Yumi Marshall, are the heaviest boxer that we have?
Yeah, I know them both. That Martial's he's a southpaw.
Yeah.
One of my friends who's a cruiserweight went over to America and sparred Martial, and he told me, I was looking at this guy. I was like, you know what? He's a Filipino, great fighter. Like, man, who knows? Maybe I'll meet him in the ring one day. And I spoke to my friend, and he sparred him, and he said, Joel, he's the hardest puncher I've ever sparred in my life. And what weight does he fight at?
Middleweight, same.
Yeah, he's a middleweight. My friend was a cruiserweight, and he spars heavyweights. And he told me that Martial's the hardest puncher he sparred. So there we go.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we don't have much of those type of boxers that are big, because every time Filipino gets big, they just choose basketball instead. So, so
Yeah.
anyway, speaking of real fights and pro fight, do you have any upcoming fights? Who, where, and is it already okay to announce?
I'm fighting April 11 in Melbourne. Most likely, it won't be a title defense. So I got the IBF Pan Pacific title and WBA Oceania. Because I got stopped in the Weljon fight, they told me that I can't come back and fight for the IBF, which is I was very surprised. I'm like, but it's a different fight. It wasn't the reason why I took it was because it wasn't going to affect my pro career. But I got told by one of the guys who works for IBF that I can't defend that. Um,
Oh, it's the IBF, not the local commission, Australian commission, where you're fighting that's stopping you.
Now, the IBF representative of Australia,
Okay.
he's pretty big in the IBF. He said I can't come back after a stoppage and defend any title of the IBF. So I can't defend it. Yeah,
But that is quite a long period of time. Did he give you a specific time that you're suspended or something?
I think you said you got to come back and fight after a win. Now you have to get a win and then come back and fight.
Oh,
Yeah,
you gotta
so
get a win first. So
I found that.
they
Yeah,
recognize IBA.
they must have recognized. Yeah, I don't know. I go, but it's a. I'm like, man, it was like a different league. It was nothing. It wasn't for my title. It was a different weight division. It wasn't nothing to do with that. Like, but I understand. Not going to
Okay.
argue. But then there's the WBA title, which I have. Um, I'm number 27 in the world on BoxRec. I've defended my WBA title twice. Okay, I'm not in the ratings, which is very surprising. In professional boxing, it's more about who you know. Um, Unless you beat somebody in the top 15, which I haven't. But for example, there's guys who are 14 WBA who had never fought for a 10-round fight before and never fought for WBA title. So I'm saying I won WBA title. I've defended it twice. I don't get top 15. I'm 27 in the world. Then there's guys like this guy who hadn't fought for a WBF title in his life, and he was 14. Now he's had one fight against somebody who's like not even top 200, 300 in the world, and they put him above me. So for this fight, I will not be defending my titles. But the victory for this fight, I'll be fighting a guy from Africa, should push me to top 20 in the world on BoxRec, which will get me a big fight.
The business of boxing.
I know it very well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like you're going to that pathway. But before we talk about that pathway, because you're already doing a mix of both, I'm just curious. Your fight is in April. I see your videos. You're already training, although boxers do train every now and then. How does your usual training go when you are in a fight, and how long is it? Just want to get a perspective from an Australian champion.
Uh, Especially at my age, you don't want to overdo it, but it's like studying. It's like studying something. Like if I want to study how to build a bed, the more I study how to build the bed, the better I'm going to get at building a bed. So and you don't have to go hard. Like when I'm boxing, I go into the gym, I shadow box, I do light bag work, I stretch, I repeat, defense, visualization. So right now I'm just going just through the gears, you know. I'm cruising in fourth to fifth gear and I'm just going over and over. When it gets to around 12 weeks out, I might have one spar a week. When 8 weeks out, I may have two sparring sessions a week. But I will not go too hard. So I'll be going to Los Angeles on the 29th of January and I'll start my camp then. And then from there, I'll go 2 weeks there, then 2 weeks with knucklehead boxing with Weljon Mindoro's team.
Wow. Okay. So it seems like it's because usually from the Filipino perspective, it's about 2 months to 3 months.
Yeah.
If it's a big fight, but
Yeah.
isn't this like oh
8 to 12 weeks. 2 to 3 months, 8 to 12 weeks. But like I've had 39 pro boxing fights now.
yeah,
I can get ready for 8 rounds in 4 weeks. Like, so for me, it's more about building the fundamentals, like just my shadow boxing, my bag work, getting my pad work with my trainer is very pretty full on. Like, it's like sparring. So I do that, but I won't risk getting hurt.
yeah, makes sense. At 34 and about 45, most of your fight in Australia, you're going to Vegas to train, and you fought at least a couple of times in Thailand. Are there any plans to fight outside of Australia aside from the one recently you had, like a real pro fight outside?
Yeah, of course, there's plans. I've always wanted to do. There's a fighter from Australia who's a world champion, Sam Solomon, very awkward fighter. I went over to Germany and beat Felix Stern for a IBF world title, and I've got a very similar style. I actually fought Sam Solomon myself. Um, I believe that after this fight, I've had a few calls already from guys from France, Russia, Germany to fight over there. So my thoughts are you don't go there just to go there. Like when you go there, you want to be first of all paid, second of all have the highest opportunity to get a good ranking. So for me, it was about getting a top 15 rating first, and then going overseas. Now I haven't got it, so now I'll get the top 20 box rec rating, get a decent offer that I get paid more than I get paid for in Australia, and I'll go overseas. So most likely, I'm two fights away from a fight overseas.
Okay. Now it's all a continued work in progress. Now you're 34, and most would say it's a little bit late, or 34 is not a prime age for a boxer. Of course, it's different from each of the boxer. How do you envision yourself, and what's kind of like the plan now to get to the world title stage? Because you fought someone who is already a world champion like Team Tszyu,
Yeah.
and you got a lot of belts from Australia. How do you
Mm.
get to the world stage?
Top 15 rating, or what they're going to do. My record's very deceiving. I'm a much better fighter than somebody with 8 losses usually. Yet, well, 9 losses including Weljon Mindoro. Uh, I'm going to win this next fight. I'm going to get a call up from some promoter that's seen me fight and thinks, okay, this guy's easy to fight. We can hurt him, or it's a
Yeah.
good fight, it's durable, but we'll beat him. I'm going to go overseas. I'm going to beat their prodigy or their guy who's highly rated. I'm going to take his spot. Then I'll get my opportunity to fight for a big belt.
Do you have any? I I don't like asking this question, but it's kind of like some of the fans like to quote this. But are there any names? Because you said you're gonna call out, and I don't mean disrespect with your upcoming fight. Any dream fights or any fighters that you really wanted to fight?
Oh, no one really at middleweight. Like the champions right now are Carlos Adames, who's fighting Hamza Shiraz. There's Erislan Lara. I think Charlo might be one of the. Then there's Janabek. Janabek, the
Yeah, tough
Kazakh.
fights.
They're all very tough fights. I think for me, down the European route is a good way to go. I'm more about the opportunity. I think on my day I can beat anybody. There are certain styles make fights. There might be
Yes.
guys that, like for example, I believe if I fought Takeshi Inoue, I would beat him, and I believe like comfortably. Um, but then he was so strong against Weljon Mindoro, and he gave Weljon a hard fight, which was a draw. Styles make fights, so I believe that I have to choose the right style. I have a chance to win a world title. Just got to make sure it's the right person at the right time.
Okay. Let me rephrase my question since you don't want to call out anyone. But who do you think is the best middleweight right now?
Jan- uh, Janibek's the most dangerous fighter right now.
If ever there's a fight, what kind of style or what kind of I'm asking a secret. I don't know if you could answer this. How
That's
do
all
you defeat the Janibek?
right. Oof. How do you defeat Janibek? He's a southpaw, so you can't sit at his range. You've got to be all the
Hmm.
way out or all the way in, and you've got to counter him. He's a very good counter puncher, so you have to try to make him punch first. Stay in
Hmm.
close. Don't give him his range, but man, like it's different watching a person than being in the ring with him.
Yeah.
But to fight a southpaw, you've got to push him back. You've got to push him back, staying close when you can. If you want to be outside someone like Janovic with long arms, be all the way on the outside. You can't be at his range.
Okay. You're not in the ranking right now, but let's just say, for example, you get a fight after this, um, maybe 2 months preparation only to a rank fight with anyone. I mean, highly ranked. Would you take it, even if they're too high up in the ranking?
100%. I'll fight anybody. I'll fight anybody. Like I'm not scared to face nobody. We do have managers to try to protect us, but I'll fight anybody. Like right now in my career, there's no avoiding nothing. If somebody's
Mm,
rated and they have a ranking to offer, I'm going straight for it. I'm fighting him.
okay. Now, this next question is more of what's happening in the world today. It's a little bit trending.
Yeah.
You get that kind of offer, and then suddenly, oh, a YouTuber, like for example Jake Paul, like offer you two times, three times more, but it's the same time. Would you pick for that path to the world champion, but you paid a lot less, or would you fight a YouTuber boxer like that and get paid a lot more and you get a lot more fame?
I
What
choose
would you
the
do?
YouTube. I choose the YouTuber. Why? Because no one pays your bills after your boxing career. No one pays your bills. You go and fight that world champion. That's like a high risk fight to lose. After you lose that, I'm at 34. It's like, okay, what do I do now? I go and fight that YouTuber. I give him a boxing lesson. If the other guy wants to fight me after that, we will. Otherwise, my bank's full. I can feed my family. Like, yeah, I can look after my future family. I'm all good, man. Money makes you survive. There's a pride. There's a pride of winning a world title, but man, like you can't sell your world title for money.
Yeah, well, the old guys, the veteran guys, the
Mm.
purist boxers hate these kind of things, and they're saying that boxers today they're just in for money, not for glory.
I
And
love Glory.
and I understand where you're coming from because money, it helps us do a lot of things, including achieve our goals,
mm.
not just inside the boxing, but also outside of boxing. Yeah, how do you feel about
If you
this
if
type
you
of things?
said to me if you said to me that uh this YouTube fight was the last fight of my life, um, I don't know.
It's so hard, right? Like, you're gonna be set for a long time for fighting
yeah,
an
it's
exhibition
man.
like this.
What I want to do, I want experiences. Like I want experiences. I want to go overseas, fight. I want to fight here, fight there. To fight a YouTube fighter like Jake Paul and make that money, you'd be stupid to turn it down. Like, what you go overseas, you fight the world champion, you lose to the world champion. Oh man, like you tell your kids, yeah, I fought for a world title, but I lost. Or you go and fight this YouTuber and you get paid double the money, and you say to your kid, here you go, here's your brand new car because I fought a YouTuber.
Uh, from the perspective of a boxer, a matchmaker, and a promoter, does this of fight ruin boxing these days, or how do you feel about this? Because it looks like it's the trend for everywhere. Like Mike Tyson is coming back, Manny Pacquiao is doing exhibition with a YouTuber. Is this ruining the boxing?
No, it's growing. It's actually growing boxing in the world. I know so many people from Australia. I'm a school teacher by trade, a secondary school teacher, and all of my students used to ask me, "Hey, sir, you know Jake Paul, Logan Paul?"
Yeah,
I had no clue who he was. Now they're loving boxing, they're watching boxing, they're starting boxing, all because of Jake Paul. So they give us an outlet to fight on big shows in front of big crowds. So there's no other fighters out there trying to help us out. These YouTubers, even the NRL and AFL players in our country, are allowing us to fight on live TV on pay-per-view broadcast because they're famous in Australia.
yeah. Isn't this a little bit frustrating for real boxers like yourself? These guys are getting a lot of fame and attention, and me, I'm obviously a better boxer than these guys. Well, why does young kids, even here in the Philippines, they like YouTuber boxer? They're getting more attention. How do you
Yeah,
feel about that? Where you train more probably every day, and this YouTuber does just straight for a week, and then they fight and they get a lot more money.
you can look at it both ways. You can look at it many ways, and it is heartbreaking, man. It's like, bro, why can't I fight for that money? I've been training my whole life, and I've missed out on birthdays and relationships and buying houses. Like, but as a promoter, looking from a promoter's perspective, they're why they're getting paid more because they're bringing more money into the sport.
Yeah,
Okay, it's fair enough. They're only training for a week, but if you were training for a week and you could bring the same amount of eyes and same amount of ticket sales to the sport, you can fight too. You're a
right.
boxer. If you had what they had, we'd put you above them, but you don't. They're bringing eyes to the sport. You're not.
Yeah, that's the promoter's perspective. And that's good that you know about you recognize that. Um, how did you feel though? I mean, YouTuber now, like retired boxer, not just retired 40s or 50s, like a level like Mike Tyson. Just wanted to ask your opinion about that. Was that because a lot of people are saying that's a stupid fight that should have not happened. How about you, the Jake Paul Mike Tyson? What's your opinion on that?
I think it was like watching a Hollywood movie. I think it was like watching Rush Hour 3. It was like they, that was, man, I don't care what they say. That was a script. Um, and people get it confused. They're saying, oh, no, Mike Tyson didn't try. No, 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 no. Jake Paul was trying not to knock out Mike Tyson. Mike
That's what I
Tyson
thought so too.
Mike Tyson's is a dangerous man, but when he finished his career 20 something years ago, he wasn't doing well. He was getting hurt by guys that weren't the best of the best. He was losing to these guys. 20 something years later, living on a weed farm, smoking weed his whole life on the mushrooms, whatever he's on, like he doesn't care. He's like, he
Yeah, yeah,
loves Jake Paul, man. Like he'd marry Jake Paul after that payday he received. He was not in no shape to fight. He couldn't even walk down the stairs. His leg was ruined, like, yeah, it wasn't a good fight for him.
yeah, yeah. It's a money fight, obviously.
No,
Would you this?
it was a good fight for his bank account. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Would you do the same thing in Australia? Let's just say some promoter, entertainer wanted, hey, you want to fight a 60 years old Australian legend for this
Well,
amount of money? Would you do that?
man, I fought Sam Solomon, but he was coming off 3 wins. He was like 49 years old, but he came off 3 victories. I fought him. If they offered me a champion Australian and
A
a
really
big
old guy, let's just say like really a grandpa, would you still go for it?
body shot, body shot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's obviously more of a an entertainment kind of fight, but it's just that the perspective of boxer. What would the fans tell you? You're fighting a grandpa. Why would you say yes to that?
It's more about how you handle yourself during and after the fight. So if you knock out somebody like a Mike Tyson and you jump on the ropes and start celebrating because you knocked him out when you know he's a grandpa, like that's different. But
Yeah,
if I go and like hurt like beat a grandpa or whatever else and that, but I try purposely not to hurt him too bad, but I win the fight. I hug him after it, show him respect, whatever. They can say what they want to say about me, but I've got money and I'm going to use that money to support what I want to support. And my biggest thing I want to support um, is youth crime and troubled kids. So if I can make that money and put it towards helping people, they'll remember that fight for a little bit. But after I fight that fight, if I go and help the youth and the troubled kids and that, then and try to help youth crime, then they're going to love me again.
really smart. Spoken like a promoter. So
Exactly.
yeah. Speaking of promotions, I wanted to ask about Australian boxing. Yeah. First time we really had a lot of attention with Australian boxing is when Jeff Horn beat Manny Pacquiao. That was the big fight, and everyone, okay, Australia. What's the current state of Australian boxing right now?
I actually moved to Jeff Horn's team after I fought Tim Tszyu. Uh, the
Mhm.
state of Australian boxing is growing. It's but the biggest problem with Australian boxing is there's too many egos. It's who's the better promoter, who's this? We won't work with him because we're better than him. In Australia, Eddie Hearn's down to Australia now, and he's trying to make all
Yes.
these promoters work together. But there's
Oh yeah,
certain
there's a fight today.
Jaya Patea versus
Yeah.
David Nico. Yes, Jaya Patea is the number one fighter in Australia right now. Back to your question. Boxing's growing. It's growing. It's growing a lot. Like the Zone, Foxtel main event pay per view, 7 plus. They're all getting behind boxing, but it could be bigger if promoters all got along.
Isn't that the case everywhere else? Like this is a man sport. That everyone has to, I'm the best. I'm the better one. I don't know how we'll fix that.
You
How
know
do
what?
you?
Like,
Because
I
everyone's competing against each other. Maybe sometimes even the world stage, like two promoters promoting at the same time the big event. Which one I'm gonna watch?
but they're smart, like Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya. They're all there going against each other. Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, and then Eddie
Yes.
Hearn and and then Eddie Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya. Turkey Al is has when there's a man with that kind of power who runs the entertainment industry of Saudi Arabia, and he comes in and says, "Hey, you and you're going to work together. Why? Because you're going to make money out of it, and so is your fighter. Get together, stop being a kid, and work together." He's making them work together now. So I think he's actually he's great for the sport.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's the only one most recently that's making the fights that we really wanted to see, and not the one-sided kind of fight. Like you already know who's gonna win. You just need to know which round is the opponent gonna fall
Exactly.
down. So Riyadh season is doing wonders, especially in the heavyweight, especially in Middle East. Um, but for Australia, you said it's growing. Aside from working together, I'm curious, are there any is Australia versus Australia World Championship fight okay with you? And are there any fights in Australia between two Australian that you wanted to see? We've
Tulsi.
already seen Jeff Horn Tip too. Are there any
Yeah, but
anything
that was a
else?
bit late. That was a bit late. I was training with Jeff Horn before he fought Michael Zarafa the first and second time. Jeff Horn was done. He was done. Like
Ah,
Jeff Horn was one of those guys that by the time he was 30, after the Pacquiao fight, he was done. He held on. He used his will to get through that fight, but his body was broken. Um, anyone else in the to see each other fight? There's honestly no one real. The only fight I'd like to see, uh, Jaya Patea, who's fighting tonight, who's a cruiserweight, versus Justice Hooney. Justice Hooney is our best amateur probably today. He's turned pro. Justice Hooney, look him up, versus Jaya Patea. That'll be a fight to see.
all right, but Jai Opatai will just say the same thing you did. As long as it's not on the rank, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it won't. It doesn't happen. Jaya Patea is a
Oh
big
yeah.
boy, but Justice is very big as well.
Yeah, Jaya Patai, I think is a big thing for Australia, and I think Riyadh season want to have him win this fight tonight because I think there are far bigger fights for Jaya Patai. How do you feel about the fight tonight? I think it's gonna be a knockout against
I
the
think
New Zealand.
David Newcombe was a very good amateur from New Zealand, but I've seen him get hurt before by a guy from Melbourne and who's a decent puncher. But
He's so big though.
if you're getting caught by a little oversized light heavyweight, then well, undersized pretty much. Sorry, I think Jaya Patel will stop David Newcombe. I
Okay.
think he wins maybe fifth round stoppage.
Yeah. I just remember you mentioned you were a teacher. Jeff Form was a teacher. Is it a common thing for a teacher to be a boxer in Australia? They're
No,
good,
it's
rather
not.
good, rather good too.
Not too many boxers have brains. To be honest with you, not too many boxers have brains. Um, my parents made me do my degree before I properly boxed. But yeah, me and Jeff Horn are the only, probably not the only ones. Ebony Bridges as well. If you know Ebony Bridges, she was a
Of
school teacher.
course, it doesn't know.
Who doesn't know Ebony Bridges? Yeah, she was a school teacher. She was a school teacher. Oh yeah,
School teacher,
yeah, she was.
and I wonder what the students are saying. I mean, he's boxing, but he's so you know what I'm saying,
And
like
not
sexy with
anymore.
all.
She doesn't teach no more. She stopped teaching once that all started happening. But yeah, you know what? Like same as the YouTube boxing and what Ebony was doing as well. Like they're smart people. They just make money,
Yeah, yeah,
man. Yeah, a
yeah.
lot of
Okay, well they're blessed for that. Um, we know Jeff Horn, Team Tszyu. From your perspective, who do you think is the best Australian boxer all time and today?
all time is between somebody of my nationality. He's Maltese Australian, Jeff Fennick.
Jeff
Um,
Fennick, yeah.
Jeff Fennick, yeah, he's arguably the best Australian fighter of all time. And then there's Tszyu. I'm managing his gym right now, but he's born in Russia, born in Russia, Russian, but we do claim him as our own. So Jeff Fennick and Tszyu, to me, are two of the best of all time from Australia.
Yeah. Actually met Team Tszyu here. He went to the Philippines, Parmani. I met him personally. I had an interview with him. Yeah, so say hi to
Yeah,
him.
he's
I
a
don't know
very
if you
nice,
remember, but it's a
very
long
nice
time ago.
guy. I actually live in his mum's building. She owns his building. Um, yeah, we're very me and Tim are very close. He's a real good guy. You know, he's he's had his last two losses, but man,
Yeah.
he's still a killer. He can still become a world champion again, and he'll show everyone in his next fight.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about boxing. I mean, Tim Tszyu, actually, I was quite happy because I met him and then, oh, he became a world champion and he won. He had such great fight in Australia. But when he go to the US, he started losing. Why do you think it's so hard to fight outside your own country?
Uh he did his first one of his first few fights in America against Terrell Boucher. He got dropped and came back and won. Didn't look that great, but there's many reasons for that. Uh Sebastian Fondora, man,
Yeah,
that was a bad match, late replacement. But watching the first two rounds, Tim was fighting so well, like better than I thought he'd fight. Uh, After that cut, it kind of affected him a lot. So that's for that reason. The reason why Australian fighters in general go overseas and lose. Man, I'll give you one example. I'm in Australia sparring these local amateurs and some pros who kind of aren't at my level or whatever. Where Weljon Mindoro is sparring Caleb Plant, like we haven't got that level of fighters in Australia. So when we come up against guys that are way better than our sparring partners, it's a whole new kettle of fish.
yeah.
That's
And the
why
only, yeah, well, I guess it's this. I guess that's the advantage of training in the US because everyone's there.
I'd love to move there. And like, if I went there and was sparring Weljon and training with their team and had an opportunity to base myself in America, I'd be there in a click of fingers. You know what I mean? Like I'd be there in a heartbeat.
I just want to go back to Team Chu. What do you want to see Team Chu do next? Yeah, two back-to-back defeats. Should he fight back in Australia to get some momentum back again, or how do you
If
want
I'm
to see him?
if I'm matchmaking Tim Tszyu or managing Tim Tszyu, I'm very close to his manager and does a great job for Tim, like promotes him very well and looks after him. I'm gonna put him up against somebody who has a rating or somebody who uh is still a big name, but not in their prime. That's what I'm gonna do in Australia. I'm gonna put him up against somebody that was like even like a Thurman or some like an Austin Trout, like these kind of guys. I'm gonna put him against because there's one other fighter who is a rival in Australia and he's pretty highly rated WBA number 8, I think. Michael Zarafa. Um,
Yes.
but Tim won't fight him. Tim he pulled out of a fight once before. He won't fight Zarafa. So I would fight either somebody who has a big name but isn't in their prime, get a win in Australia, and then uh, take another risk and go overseas and fight for what you deserve.
You don't think he needs to go up in weight?
I actually asked him yesterday, man. I said, "Bro, would you come to 160?" Yeah, I would. I, you know what? You're correct. When you lose a lot of weight, it's harder to take punches. But then go up in weight, they punch harder. So it is. It's a
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's still
It's
young, but usually most of the boxers would say, okay, maybe it's time to go up in weight. I couldn't do this anymore. Just one weight up. But does it make sense? Or I mean, he's still just 30 years old. Still very young.
I think it makes sense. I think it's who's on offer to fight. Like someone like Erislandy Lara, is a great fight for him. Fighting one of the Charlos at that weight, like I think, yeah, he definitely could go up to that weight and fight Hamza Shiraz. Like he could do it. He's a big boy. If he stands next to me, he's bigger than me, Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
What's your height? Tim is 5'8", right? 5'9"?
No, that's box Rex wrong. Um, I'm 5'9.5". He'd be about 5'10", five. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, he was. I don't remember the height because we were sitting down. But
Yeah.
yeah, he was kind of really slim back then when he was sparring with with Manny.
got a real wide back, wide torso. But he's growing now. You know what I mean? He's 30 now. Back then, he was pretty young.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Philippines, you fought Mindoro, and you obviously would know Manny Pacquiao. Just curious, who are the other Filipino boxers that you know?
They call him the Flash, Nanito Donato, or Donato, is it?
Obviously, yes, Nonito
Um,
Donaire, the Flash,
Marlon Tapales.
Marlon, yes, very
Um,
close. It's also very close with Australian.
yeah, okay. And
Yeah,
also, there's also that one they want to fight against Nayo Inoue, John Real Casimiro.
the controversial guy, my favorite.
Yeah, yeah. I know all these names. I watch quite a bit of boxing, and they're guys that I've watched before.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm just curious if you're following Filipino boxing. For
Even
some reason, mm,
one, what do you call it? Sorry to cut you off. I had a call before one of my fights when Peter was in the Philippines, and Bobby Pacquiao called me, and then he was with Jerry Pinalosa.
Jerry Peñalosa,
Yeah,
also
so
a legend boxer.
so I know these guys all from Peter and stuff. He loves the Filipino peoples, and he makes me watch all their fights. So that's how I know all these people.
Yeah. You fought, you said three Filipinos. I think you Tinampay. I think you also fought Adam Abdul Hamid.
Yes,
What's the difference when you're fighting Filipino and the other? What is the distinct feature of a Filipino boxer?
a hard head. You
Hard
got
head.
hard heads. You got hard heads and clubs for fists. They got hard hands and hard heads. Uh, I've never knocked out a Filipino fighter before. That Adam guy, I think I fought him maybe at welterweight, or yeah, I fought him at welterweight. I was 66.7 then. I went down for the first time in 2018, and I hit him. I shook him, but just so strong. When you fight a Filipino fighter and he's there to put on a good fight and he's there to win, he's there to win. He's coming and he's not leaving that ring until you kill him, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That yeah, the mindset of Filipino most of the time, because fighting in the Philippines, you don't really earn a lot. It's
Yeah.
really, really like it's if you fight outside, sometimes it's times five, times 10 of what you're earning in the Philippines. That's how big of the difference is. So when
Even
you go outside, it's you either get killed or be killed, or someone.
that's what, like with my fight with Weljon, like to me it was like he's been moved to Vegas, like obviously didn't grow up. I'm not sure about his family, but he wouldn't have grown up with a lot of money, you know. So for me to be able to give him an opportunity to earn money to help him out, like I'd rather help someone like Weljon out than somebody who's in another country with a lot of money, you know?
Yeah, thank you for that. Is it the same in Australia? Because in the Philippines, at least I could speak from that side because I've interviewed a lot of boxers. It's a poor man's sport. Is it the same thing?
Yeah, it's the same thing. You've got to have a lot of sponsors to support your career. I'm number 27 in the world. I'm managing a boxing gym on a wage. I'm doing PTs. I was working school teaching. I've only been full time for 4 years of my whole 14-year pro career, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, it's really hard. It's
I
also
work.
also passions. I mean, you don't know. I mean, you need one big fight in order for you to really make a living out of boxing. And you don't fight every month, so you don't get paid every month.
No, I'm one of the most probably one of the biggest ticket sellers in Australia. Not as much as
Wow.
Tim Tszyu and George Cambosis. Um, that's somebody I forgot about, George Cambosis. But uh, I like for my next fight. Okay, I'll give you some figures. I have an opponent, and his total costs of flights, accommodation, fight pay, medicals, visas, everything like that is going to cost me about $23,000. Okay, um,
US,
oh,
US, Australian.
Australian, so Australian, so I don't know how much that is, but um, then there's I'll put down a purse for myself, how much I'm going to get paid. I give it to the promoter, and I say, listen, I will cover all of those costs with my ticket sales. If I don't cover those costs, it gets taken away from my fight pay.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm 27 in the world, so I could go and fight. I got offered a fight against this guy he's a killer. His name is Miram Nursultanov. He's a good fighter, man. Like he's not rated right now, but he's a Kazakh. But like the money I'm getting offered, I'm not going to say it's not worth it. Like these kind of guys, you want 30, 40, 50 US to fight these kind of guys. Like if I'm going to get $5,000 more to fight overseas against a killer in their country, then there's no point. So I've got to wait for this big opportunity to go overseas and fight, hopefully win and make money. If not, my advice to all Filipino every boxer in the world is don't put 100% of everything into your boxing. Make sure while you're boxing, use your fame, use your popularity to build your afterlife outside of boxing.
Yeah, actually, we're on that part of the questions. It looks like you haven't planned what you wanted to do. You're doing a bit of both right now, but is this where you're going? Like to be a promoter, a manager, a matchmaker? Because you're doing all of those things right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna manage fighters, promote, matchmake. I'm gonna open my own gym in a couple of years in Melbourne. For now, I'm managing the Tszyu Fight Club. I'll move back to Melbourne eventually, open my own gym. I want to go back to school teaching once, twice a week, build my popularity with kids again in the schools from 12 to 18 years old, open a gym, and my gym is going to be the place to be in Melbourne.
So how long do you see yourself still fighting?
There's no number. There's no number. It's if this year I have a fight and I get hurt or I feel as though I'm not getting any better, I can end it then. But I'm very healthy outside of boxing. No drugs, no alcohol, maybe 2 drinks a year. So I believe that
Oh,
my
okay.
body, you know what I mean? Like my body for a 34-year-old, I'm fitter and healthier than most 20-year-olds, you know? So I see myself boxing for a few years yet. 37, 38.
Uh, also curious to know. You said you've been a teacher. You're managing right now. Was there any other profession that you had in the past that you're
A profession as in for work.
for work? Yeah. What was your work in the past?
I started off in a shopping center, grocery. Like I used to stock a freezer, like ice
Oh,
cream, that like and shelves called Coles. You haven't got Coles in Philippines, no?
what was that?
Coles, Coles. You wouldn't have it. I think maybe it's Australian.
Coles.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard of it. It's department store
just
for
yeah,
sure.
So I. But then after that, that's when I was young.
Yes.
I used to work on the roads. We call it traffic control. So I used to hold the stop and slow sign.
Oh, okay.
I done stop and slow um, during my uni, and then I used to just work as a boxing trainer.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, though, how do you want people to remember you as a boxer?
Be remembered as the most humble boxer that gave all of his fans time, but also had no fear and would fight anybody.
Do you have any family members that's in boxing right now
My mum is a
or
boxing.
before? I'm sorry.
My mum is a boxing photographer.
Oh, nice.
Takes the photos. Yeah, my mum Marty. She's got her own company called Marty's Knockout Photography, and she takes all the photos at my fight. So while Weljon was punching me in the face, she was taking photos.
Uh, the photo that I had, I don't know, was this hers or not? This
No,
one. You posted this, so I can just grab it on your social.
that might have been her one. Yeah, I think that was her one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Oh, actually, no. I think that might have been somebody from the IBA. She had photos, but that might be from the IBA. Yeah.
You have kids right now?
No kids, no girlfriend. Hopefully soon, man. I want some little Camilleris running
Okay,
around.
okay. Quite surprised. I was gonna ask though if any family member kids want to go to boxing. Is it gonna be okay with you? Especially, let's just say you have the money. Because most of the boxers they go to boxing, especially in the Philippines, because they don't have money. Would you allow your kids to go to boxing?
Boxers in Australia, I go to boxing not for money, that's for sure. I
Oh,
would I would allow my kids. Why would allow them to do boxing? Because no sport teaches your kids discipline like a combat sport.
I would agree. Actually, I have a little girl.
Oh yeah,
Is doing music and piano and ballet right now, but I plan to have him either boxing or jiu-jitsu.
yeah.
So
They're the two sports I'll have my kid doing: boxing and BJJ. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, I don't have anything else to ask you. Then you're planning to go to the Philippines anytime?
Yes, yes. I was going to say that just now. Um,
Oh,
all the Filipinos out there watching, I will visit the Philippines sometime this year. I'm not sure when just now because I'm going to America first, but I'll make sure I'll let you know. Make sure you let all the Filipinos know I'll be there this year, and I would love to meet all the Filipinos and all the boxing fans in the Philippines.
yeah. You're quite. Most of the time, the boxer get popular here if they fight like a Manny Pacquiao. They have a significant. You got popular because a lot of Filipinos are saluting you and saying, "Oh, this guy's very humble." Because of Manny Pacquiao, very humble guy, and
Yeah,
it's kind of like the standards for most
yeah,
Filipinos. So I got some requests. Hey, talk to this guy and find out more about him. So hopefully, this interview will get you a lot more fans. And when you visit here in the Philippines, I'm gonna give you some insight though. I don't know when you're gonna visit, but
yeah.
there's a plan. Though this is gonna be the third or fourth quarter of the year for the Thrilla in Manila anniversary. Maybe you should be there.
I'll be there. I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah,
Sean
because
Sean Gibbons is running
Shango.
it. Yeah, I heard about
I
that.
think Sean
Yeah,
Gibbons is the one running it. Peter is close to Manny and
yeah,
Sean, so maybe an Australian boxer should be featured in that event. Hopefully,
yeah,
it pushes through because I heard there will be world champions there. There's a lot of fights in the Philippines, but it's very small and it's
yeah.
grassroots. So you should be there on the big fight.
I'll be there. Hopefully, I'll fight in the show. If anybody's going to fight at the show out of Australia, it'll be definitely myself. Like Peter, I'm the
Yeah.
only guy Peter really manages. So I'll talk to Sean, hopefully in America when I'm there, and his son Brendan, and I'll make it happen.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the weight of Nico Ali Walsh? You want to
Easy.
fight him?
I'll fight him. I'll fight him tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, because Nico Ali Walsh, Muhammad Ali is the grandson of Muhammad Ali. We were all thinking maybe we get Nico Ali to fight anyone.
Maybe
Would you be open?
put him against Weljon. That'd be a big fight for Weljon.
Ah,
But
yeah,
I'll take it.
yeah. Well, John, I think he's on. Yeah, he's 6. Okay, well, it's about the same division, 160. So
Yeah, so I would I'd fight that Nico Ali Walsh, but I think it'll just be an honor to fight on that promotion and to fight in the Philippines. Imagine that being the first time I'm going to the Philippines, I'm fighting there.
yeah, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Any last message or shout outs or thanks to anyone from your Australian fans to the Filipino fans?
I just want to say thanks to firstly yourself, to Peter Maniatis for managing me, but enough to you for having me on your show, to all the Filipino people for becoming fans of mine and sending me all their well wishes. And last but not least, all my sponsors and to the Filipino people, I'll see you all soon.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, when you get a fight, I'll interview you, talk about your fights, and I appreciate, brother Joel. Thank you again.
Thanks. Appreciate you. Peace.